From Gillette Stadium, I'm Alex Barth. He is Evan Lazar as the Patriots practice for the final time before they head down to Carolina for their crucial third preseason game. And this is the week in the past, Evan, where the roster cutdown would take place, 90 to 75. Of course, that no longer exists. But that's not going to stop us from trying to climb inside Bill Belichick's head and pick at that 53-man roster. Although, disclaimer on both this video and our written 53-man projection, climbing inside Bill Belichick's head is a task probably better avoided.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we try to get as much out of him as we can in these press conferences. He's obviously not going to give us any tips to the 53-man roster, but I think that we've seen enough to be able to have a general idea.
But I want to start with one position that we talked about, and again, you can read the full 53-man roster projection on CLNSmedia.com, but one position that we disagree on that I think Belichick is going to be focused on is that cornerback. The top of that depth chart's pretty set, but that last cornerback spot, it's really a toss-up between a couple of guys, and the reason I think Bill Belichick is focused on it is because of J.C. Jackson. He has that 14-year stretch of an undrafted rookie making the team. Jackson seems like the best chance to keep that streak going. You have J.C. Jackson on the roster.
Yeah, I do.
Do you think Bill Belichick keeps him on at least for week one just to extend that streak?
Well, I don't think the streak really has much credence whatsoever.
We know how much of a football historian Bill Belichick is. He's trying to make football history here.
I understand, but I hope that that's not going to be any part of the decision-making process. I doubt it will be. But the reason why I had J.C. Jackson on the roster right now is because you have those top four guys, Jason McCourty, Eric Rowe, Stephon Gilmore, Duke Dawson, who I think are all pretty much roster locks. And also Jonathan Jones, I think, is pretty close to a lock at this point too. And so far in the preseason, J.C. Jackson has looked the best out of that next group, him, Keon Crossan, Ryan Lewis, and also he plays a little bit of special teams, so I think is going to be a factor at the back end of that depth chart at cornerback. You know, you have some guys like Jason McCourty, Eric Rowe, Stephon Gilmore, who might play a little bit on special teams, not Gilmore, but the other two might be a little bit there. But really, those back end spots with Jonathan Jones specifically, we've seen in the past have been big contributors on special teams on the kick coverage units. So I think that's kind of where my thing stems with J.C. Jackson.
I think this may be the closest position of all of them because Jackson at times looked like he has the edge. I think at times Crossan's looked like he has the edge. Ryan Lewis had the edge until the stupid celebration on the fumble return for what should have been a touchdown by Geno Grissom in the first preseason game. There's still a lot to be decided here. I have Keon Crossan right now simply because he was the draft pick this year. Jackson wasn't, Lewis wasn't, but that can swing easily. I would have had Ryan Lewis on if not for that celebration. He made that great play on the hit. I forget the wide receiver he hit, but the guy he split in half against Washington. Trey Quinn, that's right.
Irrelevant.
Textbook tackle, got his head down around the waist, nothing towards the crown of the helmet, any of that. I think the celebration is what's keeping him right now, but I give Keon Crossan the edge because of athleticism and because of the fact that he actually was drafted.
Yeah, well, quickly, I love Keon Crossan's college tape.
Yeah.
One of the
I know you're a big. I was surprised you didn't have Keon Crossan on. I know you're a big Keon Crossan guy.
I watched him get torched by the Eagles once the other day, and he's just really not where I thought he was going to be in coverage. And really what the big thing is with those penalties, I mean, that's brutal. You can't be getting called for penalties like that on a regular basis. So overall, the cornerback position is really interesting. Do they actually keep Jason McCourty, or is he a guy that ends up being the odd man out and they go with some of the younger players? So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think if that McCourty thing is going to happen where he's going to get released or traded, that will happen pretty soon. So we'll find out.
At linebacker, it looks like there may be some room to move. Juwan Bentley, I think it's safe to say, has been the story of camp. He's been excellent. And that puts a guy like a Landon Roberts in roster jeopardy. Neither one of us with a Landon Roberts on the 53-man roster. And I'm, going into the season, you may say as rough as Roberts looked, given their depth, that's not something they should do. But I'm comfortable if a Landon Roberts doesn't make this team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a Landon Roberts should make this team. Let me put it to you that way. I think that, there's enough talent at the top end of that depth chart with Juwan Bentley really solidifying himself as a top 3 linebacker to not have a guy like a Landon Roberts who's a liability on defense, let's be honest. He's supposed to be a run stuffer. He's not very good at that. He's not terrible in coverage, we know that. And he's not a really effective blitzer either. So what does he do well? I'm not really sure. I'm still searching for it. But the main thing is that maybe you give a guy like Christian Sam, a young guy, another opportunity to kind of pass him, who's a little bit more of an athletic version of a Landon Roberts. And also I had Nicholas Grigsby on the roster, who's going to be a core special teamer for this team. And I think is really kind of solidifying himself as one of those guys.
Now, it's interesting you left off Marquise Flowers. I had him on over Christian Sam. He may have been their best pass rusher outside of Trey Flowers down the stretch last year. He was great those last couple weeks, great in the playoffs. He can play special teams. They re-signed him this offseason. I'm just curious why you left him out.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that I really like both of these rookie linebackers. And if you get really to the numbers of the 53-man roster like we just did, it gets tough to keep all of these linebackers, and they're kind of all one and the same. I see Marquise Flowers and Christian Sam as really similar players, and I think that Christian Sam is a guy that can play off the ball a little bit more, whereas Marquise Flowers, as you mentioned, was playing more on the line of scrimmage as kind of that pass rusher edge guy. And also, he's supposed to be a guy that's really specialized in his athleticism and his coverage ability, also plays a little bit on special teams. We're talking about a lot of things that Christian Sam does as well.
Right.
So it's kind of one or the other. I put Sam on the roster because they did draft him this year, and I feel like they have to give an opportunity to some of these young linebackers to kind of make that position better, because let's be honest, it's been one of the weak spots of the team.
On the offensive side of the ball, this one's not getting talked about as much. Maybe it's because it's further down the depth chart, but how far down can he really be on the Patriots tight end depth chart? Given Rob Gronkowski's history, the guys behind him are important. Who would have thought we'd be standing here debating tight ends, and Jacob Hollister would be the safe name 2 games into the preseason, but he has clearly shown he has earned Tom Brady's trust. He can play ball. He's going to be on the roster. It's at the third tight end spot that I'm interested. Dwayne Allen scheduled to make $5 million this year. They can clear that cap space if they move him. And I would say, look, has Will Tye been better than him? Not necessarily, but you look at Bill Belichick, the way he values players. Has Dwayne Allen been $5 million better than Will Tye? I don't think so. I don't think he can be $5 million better than Will Tye. Tye can play special teams as well. I don't know if they necessarily cut Dwayne Allen, but he's definitely, he's somebody I could see them moving that last week before the regular season. If they need another corner, if they need another linebacker, if they need a wide receiver, I could totally see them shopping Dwayne Allen, even maybe for a pick, and then keeping Will Tye as that third tight end.
It's a possibility. I also could see them trying to restructure Dwayne Allen's contract to kind of give him more of an incentives-based contract and a little bit less base salary to kind of lower that salary cap number in the immediate future. But mainly the reason why I put Dwayne Allen on the roster is because of his blocking ability. He's a veteran blocker. He's a guy that really is very good in that. We saw it last year a lot in that AFC Championship game, that winning run that Deion Lewis had to clinch the game. Dwayne Allen gets 2 on that play down the sideline. Pretty great block. So I think with the kind of the indecisiveness right now in the tackle position, you have Trent Brown there. Marcus Cannon's hurt. Maybe you have to start a combination of Trent Brown and Lager and Waddle. Obviously, Isaiah Wynn is not going to be on the active roster right now. So I think that Dwayne Allen, having that guy that's kind of a 6th offensive lineman, is going to be really key. But I do admit that I don't think that he's going to be on this roster at $5 million.
I was going to say, the odds of him making the roster, it's close with Will Tye. The odds of him playing for the Patriots for $5 million against the cap this year, I think are next to none. Obviously, there's a lot of positions we didn't have time to get to. To check out our full roster projection, go to clnsmedia.com or check us out on Twitter at PatriotsCLNS. From Gillette Stadium, he's Evan Lazar. I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for watching.